Propain fans, it's new bike day. We're going to learn all about the new Tyee Trail, get out for a ride and see what this thing's all about. Let's go.
The Tyee at its core is geared toward like hard enduro riding. And with the trail, we're looking to take that same ethos into just a more all-mountain friendly package.
Big boy in a little can. 260 pounds in that shock, dude. So in today's video, we're going to learn about this Tyee Trail and how it sits right between their long-legged enduro Tyee and the Hugene. This bike's got 145 millimeters of travel out back and is paired with a 160 fork. They still utilize their Propain suspension platform. However, there is an updated linkage, which gives the bike a little bit more of a trail, do-it-all mountain kind of a tune, combined with some impressive shock tunes that they've worked with RockShox and Fox to get. We'll talk to Patrick, who came out from Propain North America to go for a ride with us and talk a little bit more about the details of this sweet machine. With builds coming into the low 30-pound weight range, ours is at 34 and change. This could be a sweet machine for riders who don't need all that travel of the full Tyee, but the Hugene wasn't quite enough.
So it's got the same DNA as our Tyee Enduro that's really built to do it all on the mountain, from, after work lap to a bike park lap or two. Just with a little less descending bias and a little more support for long all-day riding.
Okay, and what is weight difference? I mean, obviously build and spec are going to be a change, but frame to frame perhaps, or over
so
bike?
Frame to frame, it's going to be exactly the same pretty much. So the what we did with the Tyee Trail was just a linkage update. So it's the same weight and strength and stiffness that you get from the Tyee Enduro, just with a different link. Now with that, we will have different specs available that will allow you to get the weight down lower than you would with our Enduro build with slightly burlier components.
So let's dive a little deeper into the linkage. Obviously travel is shortened, but I would imagine that the shock tune, obviously the volume of the shock and the overall feel are going to be different. Can you talk about what's been done to the kinematics and the difference that a rider might feel on the trail?
You can expect more support throughout the whole travel. And on top of that, the leverage ratio across the entire range is a little bit lower.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, going to just be a little bit more suited towards that kind of general do-it-all trail to all-mountain feel that you guys were aiming for.
For sure, yeah. You'll have the support you need to get through a lot of the same stuff you would hit with the Tyee Enduro, obviously with a little less forgiveness, but
just to the shorter nature of the travel.
Exactly, yeah. But you're gonna gain a lot of that like snappy character out of corners through that smaller chatter, just overall making it super responsive and fun to ride.
How many builds will be available in North America and abroad?
So abroad we'll have 4 builds total, and in America we are offering 2 what we call our signature specs, both of which, if you're in Europe or North America, those are set up just so if you don't feel like going through our custom configurator, you can configure your bike with a build that we would build ourselves. Okay. So they're all components that we think would suit the most amount of riders.
Okay.
That said, our whole thing is custom. So 90% of our customers choose that route and can choose from a wide swath of componentry.
Okay. And color decals and stuff, which is
neat. Up to 4 different frame colors, I think, to start for this bike, and then as many decals as you could dream of.
Very cool. Okay, and then how many size frames will be available?
So we'll go from small to XL.
We have the size large. We just got the bike days before filming this Dissected, so a couple of key numbers: 475 reach, 30 mil BB drop. We were at 446 stays on this bike.
Yep.
64.2 head tube angle.
Yeah.
Was this something that you guys talked about internally when kind of designing the bike?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like the whole ethos behind this is the do-it-all trail bike. This is language that I think we've used a lot before, especially for the Tyee Enduro. Yeah. Because truly, if you want to, you can make that your quiver killer bike. I personally do. I've got the 170 travel, 170, 160 Enduro build, and that's my personal everyday bike. But this bike really is the do-it-all. trail bike. So that slacker head angle still lets you hit that steeper terrain with confidence. But I mean, we noticed on these flat, like sort of flatter trails, it's still really poppy and playful, even with that 64.2 head angle.
I can hear the little magic 8-ball rattling in my brain, and commenters are now wanting to know if they own a Tyee and they want to experience this playfulness, can they just get a linkage and upgrade their bike?
So yes, we will have that option eventually. I'm not sure if we'll have it right at launch, but if not, shortly after, we'll have the linkage in our small parts section.
Okay.
So folks who want to update their existing Tyee, you will have to get a different shock because it is a different stroke length.
Yeah, 50 versus 55 mil, right?
Exactly.
210 by 50 or 210 by 55.
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
I will say this platform still does allow up to a 170 fork. So
Okay.
if you wanted to, you could Frankenstein it,
Okay.
but...
Well, folks, thanks for coming along today as we rode the new Propain Tyee Trail. As with all of our Dissecteds, these are not intended to be long-term reviews or official endorsements. We made this video with the help of Propain as a bit more of an educational and informational release as quick as we could get it out there to kind of share the tech details and features of this new bike. Now, we have spent a little bit of time riding the bike to create it, so we always like to share our first impressions and what we're noticing out of the bike's first up. So what I will say is I haven't personally spent a ton of time on the long travel Tyee. I know that some of our other guys have, and it's a bike that they've really liked and enjoyed. For me, being based out of Bend, the trails that we have here, this is going to be a much better suited bike for the majority of the riding that I'm doing around here. That little bit more efficient pedaling platform, or just due to the shorter travel and the shock and the kinematics, is just a little bit better for getting more miles in. The way that this shock feels when I'm pushing into berms, right? There's a lot more berms and smoother trails with some jumps and lips. So having that feel out back, that's not quite as, I don't want to say wallowy like in a negative, but just when you have a longer travel bike, right, the tendency is for that to push and use more travel when you're pumping and pushing into things. The shorter travel bike definitely lends itself to being a bit faster at picking up speed when you're rolling stuff, pre-hopping stuff, and catching downside. This thing just takes off a little bit better. I do like how comfortable I feel aboard the bike, just instantly from a first ride. At 5'11", the 475 reach to me is totally doable. You know, I do like a little closer to 480 to 485 on non-e-bikes, but I'm not going to complain greatly about 475. I like the rear center length, solid. The low BB gives a pretty nice in the bike feel. I would say that like the handling characteristics of like the way the bike wants to dip over and lean into turns is very reminiscent to a lot of Santa Cruz bikes that I've tested and ridden, which if you've seen or read those reviews, you'll know that, you know, we as a crew and myself included really love how Santa Cruz bikes handle. I think Propain have kind of linked in to whatever that magic is, so it's a pretty solid bike in that sense. If you really like lean-in bikes over, quick transitions and in and out of corners, really solid. Big hits, so whether that's like landing off of like rock drops, going into compressions like before big lips off of jumps. I really like the progression. You know, there was a couple of flat drop landings to flat, and I never felt like a harsh bottom out. I was using full travel, but like I never noticed the end of stroke. So I think the bike has a really nice capability to be pushed and ridden hard. I'm going to spend some time to try to find that middle spot where I can maintain the speed and efficiency, get a little bit more comfort in some of those like square edge choppy scenarios, but still maintain that end of stroke ramp that lets me push this bike hard and, you know, kind of send it deep where sometimes a 145 bike might be a little squeamish. As a whole, I'm quite excited about this bike right now. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Ask any questions that you have down below if we didn't get to them. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, we'd appreciate if you guys would subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching. See you out on the trails.